The ending to Jujutsu Kaisen is the worst. The fall off needs to be studied. An unmitigated disaster. Gege is a hack. This was the type of things being said last night when the leaks dropped horribly by the leakers on Twitter, and we had thought the final chapter was only 5 pages. This led to people thanking Maya, the previous leaker who used to leak Jujutsu Kaisen, before even thanking Gege. The community ran mad for a while as people stayed up to extreme times across different time zones. Content creators around the world are going mad to not miss the genuine drop of the actual chapter, but also seeing 5 out of context panels that barely tell a coherent sentence, let alone a chapter, let alone the ending. In reality, we got 19 pages plus the colored bonus page. And thoughts are much, much more positive, which puts me at ease, and hopefully you too. I really hope leak culture dies because this does nothing but leave a stain on the ending in my opinion. The account Eagle guy, he just posted the last page and then dipped. How is this helpful to anyone? Seriously. In this video, I plan to just go over what exactly happened in the final chapter briefly, and then touch on my thoughts. Make sure to subscribe for more videos on anime and manga with links to our Patreon down below. Let's just jump to it. The chapter begins with our gang tracking down the harassing curse user from 270. The first third of this chapter is dedicated to showing us them finding a way to track down this guy and catch him. It's really fun and it's what I expected from the final chapter. It has been like literally over 200 chapters since these guys were able to do something like this. Death Painting arc was when they last hanged out. In the manga, in the anime, it was moved to slightly before Shibuya. It does make me sad that if this was like any other manga, these guys would have more than a couple chapters of working together. But it is what it is. They end up finding the guy and Yuji chucks him to the back of the car. It's here where a lot of the thematic payoffs start to come. We get to see Satoru Gojo one last time in a flashback, and man, it's nice seeing him again, even though this serves as his send-off. After teasing us for 4 or 5 chapters, hell, you can even argue since 236. Nonetheless, wording here is so resolute and speaking for the future where someone alive wouldn't speak like this. It's clever dialogue to serve as almost a final words, even though there's no tension, there's no thoughts of, is someone going to die? Gojo is speaking very clearly here. Obviously, if you know me, I am a Gojo's returning #1 supporter, and even friends have pushed against the idea if he doesn't come back, I would then have to hate this chapter and then hate the manga completely. I do think that is really unfair that if I don't get something my way or something that I had a theory on, then suddenly I would hate it. If it's a joke, then sure, like, very funny. But to think that of me and to be serious would put my entire love for reviewing and critiquing art I cover on this channel into question. That I can't separate my love for characters or my theories I have from what actually happens in the story, which to me is kind of hurtful and a kind of shitty thing to say. From all the evidence I saw, from the one eye theory to the Buddha connections of him coming back like at the age of 29, the same as Buddha, to reincarnation being a very strong plot thread, to the clock being 221 and him being late the same way at the start of the manga, there were countless points of evidence that could have shown why he could have come back. For Gojo fans who are mad, I hope you hearing this from me can help. I know each crackpot theory we have been cooking up. I know I haven't been the longest member of this team, but I stand Gojo. That's my stance. Like, you guys should know me now. In this JJK Discord for another YouTuber who you should absolutely check out, my name for 9 months has been Charles, literally Satoru Gojo. The Gojo comeback agenda could not have been more real for me. I was all in. This did not come to fruition in the story at all. And for part 2, I want to say it here very clearly, I do not want him to come back now. But in talking to friends and other fans of the series, let's take off our Gojo glasses of him coming back, right? And substitute the words alive or to live to the words free. Gojo post 271 did have resolution. He became free. That is why he smiles in 236. Going north wasn't for him, but for the Jujutsu world as a whole, and for Sukuna. We will get to that later. The entire sequence is to showcase Gojo's confidence not in himself, which has never been into question, but in the future, something he has been so pessimistic of since Geto's term. As a child, he needed to quickly become an adult so very, just so sudden. As a toddler, he had the pressure of, you are the strongest, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Gojo had a dream in chapter 11. A dream of that next generation, that they would surpass him. For the longest time, me and hell, I'd say the community thought this must have only meant through individual strength too, but that lost to Sukuna. What won was team-based strength. In Yuji and that next generation, Gojo can now rest, knowing, well, yeah, they are still kids. They will be able to carry the mantle and take these troubled characters and give them a better future, opening Jujutsu from its shackles of the three big families and the Shadow School, to this more human way of looking at curses and being able to live with them. To follow all this up with Sukuna appearing with Mahito. Now that's a surprise. For me, this realm seems like it's paying off Kenjaku's line from a while back. The realm of curses, and Sukuna kinda walking that path of in-between, returning to that void of despair he had been stuck in for hundreds of years, waiting to eventually be reawoken, maybe to a different path. I do love this passage, just it fucks with everything and makes you ask a million questions. But yeah, it just kind of sells me the entire vision Gege had for this ending, and that the ending is not shit at all. So if any videos come out that say the fall off of JJK, then you can kind of go, they're most likely just cashing in on the IP and are probably full of shit. I've been saying it for like a year now. For Sukuna to have a turn like this would showcase Yuji's growth perfectly and his effect on the world, because no one else other than Sukuna could really make that clear, in that Yuji is able to affect the worst of the worst and change them to be more human, even though it seemed like there was none to begin with. It's even though I have barely touched on Naruto as a franchise, it's that evolution on the talk no jutsu joke. He did that, but in a way that somehow feels satisfying. Sukuna here is literally taking the path of walking north. He tried south and was rejected at the door. Yuji said, no, walk that way. Yuji's ideals are that strong, it left his lasting impact on Sukuna. So if there is a part 2, he can operate like a nine-tailed fox thing from Naruto, or some demon that turns to be the hero to take on a threat much larger than themselves. Just give me Jujutsu Shippuden already. God damn it. There is so much to infer with Urame and Yorozu being here. I think that he could have had an actual genuine human connection with either, yet he didn't pursue them. He refused to open himself like that, so they stayed very clearly at an arm's length away. It's such a deep train of thought to open with 4 or so pages left. The conversation spirals with a child now residing next to Sukuna. Whatever makes the most sense for whoever this could be, most answers leave me content. So I don't think it better be this situation, which is nice. If it is a younger version of himself, then broski, never show your face, because that haircut is horrible. On a serious note, it could be reflecting upon himself and that he saw his situation with his twin as that of a curse and thinks he could have taken a different path than becoming this monster, alone and just so cold. And just that, it could be Hirame, it could be a lot of things. At this point, I'm seeing a lot of people just, toss and turn, whether it's his twin, him, Hirame, or hell, even a fourth person. I don't really know, but for me, I'm content with either and any of the meanings that it could potentially lead. At this point, I think it's just very clear that he was a monster, he was a monster until death, and now kind of regrets that path. He lost, his ideology lost, and that whatever's next, he will be different. So whoever this is represents the difference and what could be. That's good enough for me. Which leaves Mahito being the most villainous character in the show, showing no growth, which is so interesting. Considering he's the manifestation of the curse of humanity, or something of that sort, I can't remember exactly. Him being their fear, whining and suffering like a child, which this is a Mahito hate zone, so awesome. We then get 3 panels, 1 huge page of students of Jujutsu High getting their happy ending. They all live to push on Jujutsu High forward into this new era, the post Gojo Satoru era. Nobara did question Yuji on where he had kept Sukuna's finger, with it being in this little watchtower box thing. I think their confidence in that Sukuna has changed allows them to have this open-ended ending for the future, while also being resolute that their fears of him ever being a threat are over. Now, my thoughts on this all is that it's decent. I am happy a franchise I like so much isn't gonna get the fall-off treatment. But without the confirmation of a part 2, it does sting a little bit. I do want to rattle off a list of things that we don't really know at this point in time. I had a look at a few different places on Twitter and Discord and just saw what the conversation was and added what my thoughts were too to it. Big one is no domain name for Yuji or a complete domain for Megami. Megami never got development bar. He is now separated from Sukuna. He got his resolution with his dad. He's dead. And now with Yuji off screen, he can realize his potential, and that kind of sucks. To me, this is a huge thing that we could enjoy watching. Second is Nobara absolutely feels to gotten the short end of the stick, and considering what I just said for Megami, which he didn't get much development, he's also been missing since 212-213. Her entire flashback involving characters we never see again, and she just gets no material here. She doesn't grow, doesn't ever go beyond a friend of the main two leads. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few video essays soon that really dive into how Gege failed her, as she could have been a shining example on how to write a modern day female lead in shonen. Unfortunately, like most of the female characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, it's just a lot of shoulda coulda. At least Maki was cool. And while we got confirmation this chapter for Gojo and his status, I just feel really bummed that they spent ages talking about the fight and refused to really touch on Gojo other than to just shit on him for saving Itadori. There is obviously commentary on his dream being, throughout the last chapters, to the point of just smashing the reader on the head that, remember chapter 11? Remember the dream? Yet characters almost feel grateful he is gone, and going off the fan books, sure, he isn't popular. Shoko and Yutahime make that clear in the books. Although, he is still one of their oldest, well, for Shoko, I can at least say friends, but for Yutahime, a co-worker. No inside or on-screen development other than Gege answering questions outside of the manga just kind of sucks. If people didn't read those fan books, you'd be understanding on why people even ship these characters together. It's puzzling, but that's what they do, because the manga doesn't really say otherwise besides a few scenes. Just without him, you are dead. All of the characters are dead. And the only one to really care is Yuji. Just a funeral or any word, something. I feel like someone whose name, no matter where in the manga we were, his name was always in people's mouths, even while inside the prison realm. That harsh and sudden void that is post-Shinjuku, where he just isn't mentioned, is odd. We got closure on Megami's sister, and she got a burial. Really? It's nice and all, but she had 2 chapters of screen time. All this while being inside of a verse that showcases how easy it is to heal people and to come back. And I find it more like he had to die rather than he did die. He took an attack that did the same thing to Yuta, and timing wise, it might actually help in the anime to showcase the time gap that Yuta got back so much faster and took less damage to the brain. But when reading it, it's just a few panels and Ui doing the exact same thing. Both get sliced, both go back at RCT from Shoko and the medic team. It's okay, but what's the difference here? But I think I need more time, but I just would rather it be more clear why they couldn't have had Yuta piloting his body fully healed and then him having even going back to his old body. Rika, Shoko, Sugar Guy all have CT. Rika just got revealed to do RCT. That is huge. And they couldn't have done something? All I needed was a single line or something, and with Kenny's technique being so vague on how it works, there was all this tension of maybe Yuta will die because he is trapped and can't go back, or that literally anything. But Yuta got back fine, off screen. So what ended up happening to Gojo's body? It still possesses the 6 eyes and the limitless technique. Post-fight, we still know nothing, and bar it being the last chapter, with how they handle Geto's body and everything in JJK 0, disposing the body is really important. Unless there is going to be a Kenny storyline in part 2 where he comes back in Gojo's body and the 6 eyes that we just don't know about, even though pretty sure Kenny said that's impossible, there is still going to be videos and chances of Gojo's return in part 2 will be all over your TikTok. I'm sorry to say, that is still going to be here.
Y'all called us copers, y'all called us crazy, but Gojo's back.
Yo, Gojo's coming back! I'm not even kidding this time. Gojo's back.
And while yes, I was on team merger is going to happen, and I thought there was going to be an extra 30-40 chapters before they announced there was 6 left. And I was surprised that it didn't happen. I'm not mad that it didn't happen. I am though confused as to why we didn't get literally anything on the Culling games, nor Yuki and Geto's whole philosophy, or hell, throw Kenny's side into this. We really only got that they will figure it out off screen in 270. Megami has the authority on the merger, so that won't go off, that's fine. So that Chekhov's gun of optimize versus eradicate cursed energy just didn't go anywhere, did it? If I am off on any of these, let me know, or if you have thoughts on each of these points, either in the Discord or in the comment section, let's talk about it because, the chapter just came out and I'm recording this video. But then there are other stuff like, is the cycle really broken? 2 huge threats have been taken out, sweet. But what is changed society-wise? Is it because these 2 were the only bad guys in history from the past that could actually pose a threat? And because they've taken them out, there is no one that can really rival Sukuna in this verse anymore. I feel that is way too simple. There is a ton more, but you kind of get the idea of storylines that are set up without getting real payoffs, because the answer is not really plot relevant. When the answers to these questions would have been just nice to know. And the lost moment is, okay, what the fuck was happening last chapter with Geto? We're just not gonna get an update on that? Alright. What I really do love about this final chapter and overall the ending is kind of summed up nicely with the colored spread at the beginning of the chapter. This sums up everything quite well and goes back to the opening plot point perfectly. When it's your time to go, make sure you're surrounded by others. Don't end up like me. After everything, this was the only plot point that needed to be addressed to leave me with a sense of finality. I can list off all those other things, but Yuji found a new home and found people that he can eventually rest and they can be around him when he dies. As for other shows that have known good endings, such as, let's use Full Metal and Code Geass as my examples, those shows had a very simple question or plot hook to start their runs. Full Metal is, I lost limbs and my brother's body, I need to fix that somehow. And the ending is that they do that. Code Geass is, I hate Britannia, and somehow through whatever means, I must destroy this regime and make sure the idea of fascism never comes back again. And the ending is that played out. Jujutsu Kaisen's ending might not have tied up things up in the neatest of bows, and maybe not as good as the shows just mentioned, but it successfully concluded what it had to, and for me, that is a win. Jujutsu Kaisen is a lot of things to a lot of people. It's fights, it's lightheartedness and goofy, it's stellar animation and memes. Oh man, the memes.
As the strongest curse.
But what it is also was so very special. This is the first manga that I decided to read week to week, and for 9 months, I got that. I felt like a member of the community, leaving what little impact I could, along with other friends and other content creators who, let's be honest, they contributed a lot more than I could. But I still felt the highs and lows, the moments when my stomach sank, seeing things like Yuta pilot Gojo's body like Frankenstein's monster or something. As a community, we all felt for this story and world on a level that just feels unreal. Waiting for Manga Animist's video to explain how that wasn't a character assassination. Just this cycle, it has been fun. Reading Yuji's 7 to 8 black flashes on Sukuna was like a roller coaster. Just sitting there page by page that would drop on Twitter, screaming as the words, "Yuji lands another black flash!" That is awesome. Overall, I'm just happy. The ending is far from perfect, as I've spent plenty of today discussing just some of the things that I wished it had touched on or answered. Hell, there is plenty more to talk about. I am making this video as fast as possible to try and at least get a few people to hear what I have to say. All I want to do with my life is to be able to talk about the things that I love with people that want to hear it. And yesterday, well yeah, the manga chapter did not leak when it should have. That sucked. Yet for 5 hours, I sat in my office chair that I am right now in a silly Gojo outfit, doing hand signs and all, and I got to scream and muck around with friends. I don't know about you, but that is special. That single stream, I took annual leave from my full-time job to do, which I know I'll get a lot of, "Are you serious, Charles? You took time off work to do a silly live stream about a dumb manga chapter?" That didn't even come out that day. The thing is though, I had fun. This entire journey together has been fun. And while doing all of that, a member of some of the Discords I am a part of donated close to $1,000 for me to be able to just continue this dream that I have. Others in the community who I also consider close friends also contributed, and my heart just melts. In a time of celebration where I'm already just happy to be here, I get reaffirmed that I am surrounded by people that I'm just grateful for, and 100% would not have met if it wasn't for Will's Discord or Jujutsu Kaisen as a story, just as a whole. That is something unique and special that will be forever tied to my feelings on Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole. Gege Akutami has spent 6 years writing this story, and while for now I think he's going to rest for a bit before picking up the pen to do that idol manga he's been dreaming about, I do hope he comes back to the world of JJK to pick up on all these loose ends and continue to tell the stories of Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, and the whole gang of Jujutsu sorcerers. Thank you for all the support on these videos on Jujutsu Kaisen, and down below, please let me know what you thought of the ending. If you guys want to support the channel, we have a Patreon where you get exclusive perks. These videos take a lot of time and money to make, so any help would go a really long way. In the top mate tier, we have Nick. In the great mate tier, we have Colin and CJ, and in the good mate tier, we have Jadu Sable. Please make sure to follow the link in the description down below to check that out, and also to use our code DARE2 in Fortnite store. We got a code now, that's sick, but yeah, peace out.